Okay, so what if it said find all real zeros, use exact values, that means no decimals, and then identify as rational or irrational. I don't know that you really need to write those directions down. I would just write the problem. We're going to do exactly what we did on the first two problems. The only difference is that if it's not factorable now, you still have to solve it. The only exception is I don't really care about complex answers right now. You know how to do complex numbers, so if you really want to give me the complex answer, you can, but this isn't asking for that. So this is my favorite type of problem for these because look at the leading coefficient. I wish I'd give you one of these on your test. Factors of 9 plus or minus 1 plus or minus 3 plus or minus 9 over factors of the leading coefficient. Oh my gosh, I don't have to check any fractions. Right, so nothing new so far. Plugging in the numbers. I have a good feeling. 1 or negative 1 is going to work. I can feel it. 1 plus 3 minus 3 minus 9. No. I think I've lied. Negative 1 plus 3 minus 9. Oh, fail. I'm feeling 3 too. 27 plus 27 minus 9 minus 9. How about negative 3? Negative 27 plus 27 plus 9 minus 9. Like ones I can do without a calculator. That works, right? What do we do now? Divide it up. Don't forget the answer that you found. Probably what happens the most on the test is you forget the answer that you already found. So I like to kind of bring that down. Like I know x equals negative 3 is an answer. And then look what we have left. We started with x to the third. So this is x squared plus 0x minus 3 equals 0. That is not rational, but can I solve this equation? Because I can add 3 over. I can take the square root, and I get x equals plus or minus the square root of 3. So those are 3 real answers. One is just nice, and 2 aren't, because that's plus or minus. It does say in the directions, label them rational or irrational. Well, this is our only rational one, and then these 2 are irrational. All right, we better look at one more. We still have 17 minutes. You should have written some more. Or get out more paper right next to it. Oh my gosh, what if I gave you this one? Wow. This is really the last one. What's different about this one? There's a 2 in front of it, and it's a 4th degree, not a 3rd degree. So think about on all the 3rd degree ones, when you find the 0 and you divide it out, you're left with a quadratic. On this one, if you find a 0 and divide it out, you're going to be left with a 3rd degree, which means you might have to find another 0. So you might have to do that twice. Oh my gosh. Factors of 4 over factors of 2. This is what I meant about if it repeats, like when you simplify, you don't have to write it all again. So plus or minus 1, plus or minus 2, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 1/2, but 2 over 2 is 1, and 4 over 2 is 2, so there's really only 8 choices there, right? Well, I put them them in numerical order on the top, and then I do all the top ones. Ah! I hope I don't think one's looking so good. That's a lot of negatives, right? That's not right. What are you thinking? I'm going to consult my calculator now. Check that out. This is the part that you just have to take some time to do, or if it's on the back of the book, get a little help. I got 2 to be negative 50. Alright, I'm going to try 1 half. Come on, whatever you pick. Does it work? You're supposed to be typing this in, Dylan. You're failing in your participation. Has anybody found this yet? Negative 1 half. Because you typed something in wrong.
Yeah. Can you use the minus sign, or you have to use negative sign?
If you're using it as a negative half, you have to use a negative.
That's my one.
Okay. So, look what you have left. You're left with 2x cubed minus 8x squared plus 2x minus 8. One option would be we could keep guessing, yes. And sometimes you're going to have to keep guessing because there's not another option. But in this example, is there another option of how we could solve this without guessing and checking? How can we solve something with 4 terms? Sometimes factor by grouping works. Not always. Sometimes you're going to have to just guess more points, do your PRZs over again. But a lot of times, people notice, hey, I did factor by grouping there, and I bet I could get the right answer there. So just know that that's another option. So on this one, could I take out a 2x squared, and I'd be left with x minus 4? And on this one, I could take out a 2 and be left with x minus 4. Did anybody try 4 up there? 4 should have worked too. I never used to look for factor by grouping, and then someone kept pointing it out one year that, you can just do factor by grouping. And it happens a lot. Not always. Sometimes there's factor by grouping doesn't work, and you have to go back to doing it. And I think if you plug 4 in there, it should work, and you can synthetically divide again, and then what's left should be 2x squared plus 2, and then you could solve that out. But if you notice factor by grouping, it's going to probably be quicker than doing it. So look what happens when we solve it. We get x equals 4. But what about this one? 2x squared plus 2 equals 0. Is that going to be a real number? Yeah, you get negative 1, and technically the directions only ask for real numbers, which means you don't have to solve this. If you want to say it's plus or minus I, I'm not going to mark you wrong for doing more than it's asking for. In section 2.5 next week, we'll do that. Right now, they don't really want that. But if you gave me that, I'm not going to mark it wrong. What was the answer that we divided out already? Negative 1/2. Which means this one has 2 answers, and they are both rational.
What do you do if you factor 2 times
2, chapter 2 tests.
Even if you can't factor by group.
Then you'd have to just keep guessing again. Like,
Oh.
I would just go back, and at this step, I would try 4, and it should give me 0. So then you could factor out 4 again. And you'll be left with that other factor over there, 2x squared plus 2. And so if you don't see factor by grouping, or if it's not possible to factor by grouping, until you get a quadratic, you have to keep guessing PRZs. That's why I'm not going to give you anything more than a 4th degree, right? Like 5th degree, you'd have to do that 3 times before you could get to a quadratic. So we won't do that. All right. I do have a homework sheet for you. Finally, on the last day of the chapter. I don't think anyone like purposely tries to get